Live from downtown Tulsa, Oklahoma's own News on 6 starts now.
The Oklahoma Highway Patrol is investigating after a shootout between a suspect and law enforcement officers in Tahlequah today. A lawsuit accuses Oklahoma country singer Garth Brooks of sexually assaulting his hairstylist. And the Price Tower in Bartlesville is taken off the auction block, at least for now. But first,
I hope that no one's child is ever left in his care again.
our top story, a Jenks bus driver is out of a job after the district says he was falling asleep at the wheel while driving a group of sixth graders home from an overnight field trip. Thanks for joining us. I'm Craig Day. 5 students had to go to the hospital. News on 6's Aaron Conrad spoke to one of those students and his family about the crash, and she's live in Jenks with the story. Aaron?
Well, Craig, that 11-year-old student is still nursing a big cut, a concussion, and some aches and pains, but overall he's okay. His family says they are relieved, but yesterday was traumatizing. 11-year-old Alex Cuvey is taking it easy today after hitting his head in a bus crash Wednesday, coming home from an overnight school trip.
Yeah, so starts right about back here, goes up to about right here, and he's got 3 staples in it.
Elizabeth Casey is Alex's older sister. She went to the hospital with her mom after the school called to tell them what happened.
It was pretty traumatic when we walked back there, and we had been told that it was a small laceration on his forehead, and he was actually completely covered in blood.
In a letter to Jenks' parents, the district says the driver of the bus was falling asleep, causing the crash. It happened on the Cherokee Turnpike around mile marker 6 near Locust Grove. Alex says he was already scared on the bus before the crash.
He was taking really sharp turns. It was making us fall out of our seats.
Alex doesn't remember hitting his head. He just remembers things getting really bumpy and then kids crying.
I asked for help, and my teacher came back to the seat, and I thought he had a bloody nose. I didn't. I obviously had a head injury.
Casey says things could have been much worse, but she's still angry this happened.
I hope that no one's child is ever left in his care again. The more we talk about it, the more frustrated I get.
Well, the district tells parents that that driver was cited for inattentive driving causing that crash. The district also tells families that bus driver was fired and will no longer ever be able to drive a bus for the district ever again. They also reported the crash to the Department of Transportation. Live in Jenks, Aaron Conrad, Oklahoma's own News on 6.
All lanes of Highway 169 are back open tonight after a deadly dump truck crash near Pine closed down the highway for hours. Tulsa police say the truck was in the outside lane when some kind of mechanical failure caused it to veer across 2 lanes, hitting the median, rolling, and then catching fire. The driver was killed. Both directions of the highway shut down for hours as officers worked the scene and cleared debris from the highway. Rogers County deputies helped to arrest a man who was running from U.S. Marshals. Deputies say marshals were trying to arrest Daryl Denham for a felony warrant at a home when he got on a motorcycle and took off. They say he drove up to 100 miles an hour into oncoming traffic trying to get away before crashing near the Dollar General store in Foyle. Law enforcement sent him to the hospital to get checked out before arresting him on several charges.
The summertime feeling returned today with highs back in the low 90s. Now this was near record. Our record for today was 95 and we hit 92 here in Tulsa. So we were close, did not tie or break the record, but we may see near record temperatures throughout this weekend and possibly even the following weekend with a few dips in temperatures in between as we're tracking a couple cold fronts. Now highs today made it up to 92 here in the metro, but 94 in Bartlesville and 97 out in Stillwater. To the southeast, you did have some low 90s across southeast Oklahoma. Temperatures now are in the 60s and 70s, especially off to the east of Tulsa. You're at 63 in Tahlequah now, 79 in the metro, and still pretty toasty out in Stillwater. They're low 80s, but should drop into the upper 70s soon. Our metro planner tonight, we fall into the mid 60s to start off your Friday. Quiet weather tomorrow, another hot summer-like day. We'll talk more about weekend heat and the chance for a few showers could sneak into the forecast. I'll tell you when coming up.
The Oklahoma Highway Patrol is investigating after shots were fired between a suspect and U.S. Marshals in Tahlequah today. U.S. Marshals say they were serving an arrest warrant at a home and no members of law enforcement were hurt. News on 6's Caitlin Deggs has more on what witnesses have to say.
Witnesses tell me they heard about a dozen shots before they went and hid. They all say it happened so fast. U.S. Marshals were serving a warrant at this home at Lee and Choctaw in Tahlequah when shots were fired between the suspect and law enforcement. It all happened at the same time that Jonathan Rader was about to open his store across the street, Rader Computers, for the day.
So I was in the back, and it was like right at 10, and I heard a kind of like a knock. Like I really thought it was just somebody knocking on the door, because there'll be a lot of times where somebody will come by like right at 10.
But he knew something wasn't right.
But it sounded a little bit different. Like it almost sounded louder but more distant maybe.
Rader says when he went to the window, he realized quickly that it wasn't knocking, but gunshots.
I just was standing here looking out the window, seeing what was going on, and several more cars came up, and basically the whole thing was just covered in police cars.
He says he's thankful for law enforcement's quick action and for keeping people safe.
If I would have known it was gunfire initially, I probably would have been more scared. But by the time I knew what was happening, it was like already like a minute out of it.
We are still working to learn more details from law enforcement about what happened before shots were fired. In Tahlequah, Caitlin Deggs, Oklahoma's Own, News on 6.
A lawsuit filed in California accuses Oklahoma country singer Garth Brooks of sexually assaulting his hairstylist in 2019. The lawsuit accuses Brooks of forcing the victim to touch him at his home and also forced her to have sex with him on a trip. It says Brooks would also bring up sexual subjects in front of her and regularly expose himself. Brooks filed a preemptive lawsuit, though, against that woman last month in which he says the allegations are not true. In a statement, Brooks said he was threatened with the lawsuit if he did not pay millions of dollars. He says he trusts the system and is not the man they painted him out to be. Rogers County deputies arrest a couple they say did drugs in front of their 3 children. Deputies say they started investigating after getting an anonymous tip about Eric Ashley and Samantha Manning. Deputies say Manning denied using drugs but said the couple had relapsed a week ago and had a bag of fentanyl residue on her. They say Ashley told deputies they both do drugs daily and that they do it in their room and garage while the kids were home. Deputies found a smoking pipe in the couple's bedroom during a search warrant. They arrested both for drug possession and child endangerment. The ACLU wants the State Department of Education to tell them where they're getting money to put Bibles in classrooms. State Superintendent Ryan Walters announced last month the state would use $6 million in state money to put Bibles in every classroom in Oklahoma. The ACLU is asking for all records created so far to be sent to them by 2 weeks from today. State Superintendent Walters is also asking a Tulsa County judge to dismiss a libel lawsuit filed against him by Bixby Superintendent Rob Miller. The superintendent filed the lawsuit after Miller criticized Walters for not releasing state funding to the school. Walters said that wasn't true and then called Miller a clown and a liar at a July news conference.
He's a liar. I mean, he's really a true embarrassment. He knows every year when he gets Title I funds in, we're dealing with all kinds of financial problems with his district that we're having to address right now. So, you know, Rob's a clown and a liar, and so he knows that.
Walters says the lawsuit should be dismissed because he was acting in his official capacity as a state employee. He also says Miller cannot prove Walters was directing his comments toward him. The Price Tower in Bartlesville is no longer going to be on the auction block next week. Bidding on the iconic Frank Lloyd Wright designed tower was set to start at $600,000. That was going to be on Monday, but a company filed a lawsuit against the owner, Cynthia Blanchard, last week, saying it could not go up for bid because she had already signed a contract in May to sell it to them. Blanchard's attorney says the contract is not valid, but says the auction was rescheduled for mid-November. The city of Tulsa says it's working on plans for a new hotel and restaurant for Crybaby Hill. The city says a local developer wants to create the Palmyra Motor Court, which will be a retro 50-room hotel and pool right on the hilltop of Crybaby Hill. It says the new hotel would help to attract people to Tulsa, especially Route 66, and that construction could be done by the Route 66 Centennial in November of 2026. It's going to be clear skies for the last few days of the Tulsa State Fair. The station tells us how the weather looks for the final weekend across our Osage Casino Skycam network. Plus, more good news for fans of Oklahoma-based band Cross Canadian Ragweed. But first,
people say it's growing everywhere, and it does, but it's not healthy.
how an Oklahoma tribe is working to save an endangered plant that's native to our state. Early explorers in eastern Oklahoma talked about the plant known as river cane, stretching for miles around the Arkansas River. But today, river cane ecosystems are in danger. News on 6's Katie Eastman shows us how an Oklahoma tribe is working to preserve the plant and its ties to their culture.
The sun rises the same way it always has, but it lights up a landscape that's changed a lot in 200 years.
And we take that there.
Today, the plants to weave these
Here's some baskets.
are harder to find.
They're little bitty things like
But
this.
Roger Kane
They've all been used and abused.
keeps looking for the bamboo,
Really stout.
known as river cane.
This just come up like a week ago.
The plant is part of him
These dead ones right here,
as a citizen of the United Kituwa Band of Cherokee Indians.
our ancestors always talked to plants.
His ancestors didn't get a say when European settlers destroyed the dense growth of river cane for crops.
Because people say it's growing everywhere, and it does, but it's not healthy.
So he's speaking up now.
Southeastern American Indians, it shaped us.
This time, it's the river cane that will stay in the Sequoia National Wildlife Refuge.
Beats sitting in a factory or somewhere else, you know.
Buck No Fire and Curtis Hummingbird cut away plants competing with the cane for sun and water.
Reestablishing itself, I guess you'd say.
Both men are Cherokee citizens who grew up using the plant,
Mostly like a fish and crawdad gig.
but they didn't know about its struggle to survive.
There wasn't no history about the Indian, the Cherokee or anything like that. It was always about the white man way.
Now others are starting to see it Roger's way.
Yeah, that's the point of it.
Refuge manager Damon Taylor welcomes the help.
It's really helping us bring back an ecosystem that was really dominant here, 200 years ago.
This conservation work kicks off a nearly $2 million grant from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. The 4-year project includes work in wildlife management areas in Oklahoma and Arkansas, areas considered the homelands of the United Kituwa Band.
That's where all the knowledge is, passed down from generations, and using that knowledge to help us make management decisions.
And I'm hoping here in 10 years they'll be making cane this size.
Cane big enough to use for basket weaving,
It's a booger. It is.
with the hope that it's dense enough to bring back animal habitats and mitigate climate change.
This is a lot of work right here, but this is what our project's all about.
Some change is inevitable.
Yeah.
This one will be intentional.
It's something about changing the mindset.
By preserving a plant, Roger protects his people. Katie Eastman, Oklahoma's Own, News on 6.
The Oklahoma-based band Cross Canadian Ragweed adds a second night for its reunion concert at Boone Pickens Stadium in Stillwater. The band is headlining a live show with the Turnpike Troubadours on April 12th next year. 125,000 people pre-registered for tickets, so the band says they're going to have another show. They're going to play on April 11th. Pre-sale tickets go on sale Monday at 10 a.m. and start at $25. The band says tickets will only be sold through Oklahoma State.
From the Bob Mills Weather Center, Oklahoma weather expert, Stacia Knight.
Well, it was a hot day today, climbing back into the 90s for most locations here in eastern Oklahoma, and 90s are going to stay with us at least through the weekend and could even return for the following weekend. So there is still some heat to be had here in October. 79 degrees tonight. Dew points are higher than they were a couple days ago. Over the last 48 hours, dew points have climbed from 30s up to 60s now. So with higher dew points, temperatures won't drop off as much tonight or as quickly as we've seen, especially yesterday morning where we were in the 40s. To this morning we were in the 60s, and then tomorrow morning we'll also be in the 60s. But we have a southeast wind tonight at about 9-10 miles per hour. So the state fair continues, just 3 more days left. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 92 again tomorrow. South winds will be about 10 to 15 tops on the midway. Lighter wind tomorrow. I would say it's a carbon copy of what we had today, but the wind speeds will be lighter, and we also have an ozone alert in place for tomorrow. There could be ozone numbers that climb to a level that's considered unhealthy for some, and that would be for those with asthma or respiratory problems. So by late afternoon, early evening, if you know someone who has asthma, they may have some trouble if ozone numbers are able to climb up that high. And tomorrow we'll have a lot of sunshine. We won't have very much wind. So on those days, we can see those numbers get a bit higher. Our state fair continues into the weekend, like I mentioned, and it's 90s for the final days. 91 both Saturday and Sunday. Sunday, there's a cold front coming in. Now it's a dry frontal passage, and the cooler temperatures won't be felt until Monday. So Sunday is still going to be toasty, but we'll have winds flip out of the north and there'll be a stronger breeze later in the day. Unfortunately, there's not any rain with it, but there could be a few showers that try to sneak into eastern Oklahoma early Tuesday morning. That's the only opportunity that we have on the 9-day planner. It's getting very dry and drought conditions continue to worsen. Tonight, we're in the 60s out to the east of Tulsa, 70s in the metro, one spot still in low 80s, and that's out in Stillwater. South winds tonight are overall very light. Occasionally you do get a gust to about 10 to 15. Tomorrow morning it's 60s, maybe a few spots upper 50s east of Tulsa. Those are your morning lows. Afternoon highs, like I mentioned, in the 90s and a lot of sunshine. So summertime continues. Tomorrow our record is 97. We're not going to touch that, and that's good. On Saturday the record is 95. We'll get closer, but then Sunday it's 98. Now near record temperatures could also be in the forecast for the following weekend. For some reason the heat just builds over the weekends here, and so it doesn't give you much relief. For the Tulsa game on Saturday, 11 a.m. kickoff, 80, but then climbing into the 90s for the end of the game. Toasty. And then for OSU, you start in the 90s for your game because your kickoff is at 3 o'clock. So it's going to be hot for some Saturday football. Here's the latest drought monitor, and it does not look good, especially if you're north of Tulsa and west of Highway 75. Last week, we were in a severe drought from Osage County all the way back to Ottawa County. And now we've increased that, and it's gotten worse to an extreme drought. That's going to be in red from Bartlesville down to Pryor. So not good there. We were hoping for some rain this week, and we have a slight chance showing up by Tuesday morning. It's a 10% chance, and it won't be much, if measurable at all, but at least it could be a few drops that fall here in eastern Oklahoma. We'll take it. Cooler temperatures to start off next week, so actually feeling like fall for 1-2 days, and then it's back to summer in October.
If we could just get little bit of raindrop to wipe the bugs off the windshield.
I know, but it rains.
Because it hasn't gotten cold enough to kill them yet.
It's like dusty. It makes it dusty is all it does. It's not enough rain at all.
Muddy rain or whatever they call it. Yeah. All right, and it's going to be hot for football this weekend.
OSU needs to be hot on defense and offense. They need something good to happen in Stillwater this Saturday. But first, we're going to hear from OU true freshman quarterback Michael Hawkins Jr. during the bye week. And speaking of hot, from OU Heisman-winning quarterback Baker Mayfield, red hot tonight on Thursday Night Football. Highlights next. Keep it in.
Driven by your Oklahoma Ford dealers, this is News on 6 Sports with Justin Woodard.
Continuing to learn tops the Window World Sports Desk. The bye week for Oklahoma came at a good time for a few reasons. Number one, the Sooners need to get healthy at wide receiver, and that's including having Deion Burks potentially back in the lineup against Texas. Man, that would be massive for the offense and quarterback Michael Hawkins Jr. Speaking of that man, Hawkins is set to become the first true freshman quarterback to start for the Sooners in the OU-Texas game next week. Hawkins showed flashes in that win at Auburn, racking up 230 total yards to go with 1 touchdown. Looking back at the tape, Hawkins knows there's room to improve, but the biggest positive so far, he has not turned the ball over.
Just being consistent, like focus on the little details that we need to get better at, and myself that I need to get better at going into this Texas game. Things I want to improve on from the game is just getting through it a little faster and trusting in the pocket and, making reads and bringing our guys. But things I did good, just like trying to make plays so it wasn't there and just getting vertical, keeping our receivers alive.
Searching for league win number 1, it's simple. OSU has to improve on defense. Oklahoma State is dead last in the Big 12, giving up over 480 yards per game. The Cowboys are also at the bottom of the conference, allowing over 200 rushing yards per contest. The Pokes let Kansas State run wild last Saturday, with the Wildcats racking up 300 yards on the ground. For the second straight week, OSU is set to face a dual-threat quarterback with Garrett Green and West Virginia coming to town. The Cowboys won last year's game with the Mountaineers in a shootout, but Green accounted for over 365 total yards. And don't forget, OSU could be without standout linebacker Nick Martin, who was injured a week ago.
if you get a running quarterback, obviously you need to contain the dude. You don't want him out there running around. You want to be able to stop him, keep him in the pocket, make him pass. And like I said, you stop that, you stop the head of the snake. A big outside zone team, inside zone, which is something we can stop. And, we're excited for, and there's things we should do better, execute a little bit better. Like I said, we just got to go out there and compete and do our jobs.
Thursday Night Lights high school football. McLean hosting Stillwell. Both teams looking for their first district win. First quarter, Titans ball here. Keaton Selfridge takes the handoff, cuts outside. Can he get to the corner? Yes, he can. Speed kills. PAT, no good, but it's 6-0 Titans. Under a minute to go in the first quarter, we have a response by the road team, Stillwell. Juan Martinez, your quarterback, just tosses it up. Brayton Carter Moss is the defender, plus pass interference. Touchdown Indians. McLean, though, scores 2 second-half touchdowns. They get the win, 18-6. How about tomorrow night for Week 5? Here's some games that will have cameras at. Owasso visits Union in our game of the week. You know the drill. All your highlights on the Friday Football Blitz. Up in the NFL, Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers taking on the Falcons. And what a first half for the former OU Heisman-winning quarterback. Mayfield threw not one, not 2, but 3 touchdown passes. The last one right here went to former Sooner great Sterling Shepard. It's like 2015 all over again for Mayfield and Shepard. Last check, Mayfield 180 passing yards, 42 on the ground. Bucs lead at 30-27 late in the fourth quarter. With the Falcons driving, so we could have a little overtime there. What a game tonight. Yeah, it's fun.
I wish we could watch it.
Yeah, no kidding. Prime television for you.
Well, a lot of men, women, and students walked a mile for an important cause, and a lot of them were wearing high heels. How it's all done to raise awareness about domestic violence. That's next. Our Lori Fulbright emceed the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes event in Muskogee. Hundreds of men, women, and students of all ages were there to help raise awareness for domestic violence. I want you to take a good look at this video because it's kind of funny watching some of these guys try to balance on these heels. There you go. See? Don't mess with me, man. Many of them were wearing high heels. Women in Safe Homes, called WISH for short, organizes that event every year, and WISH also operates a shelter for victims of domestic violence. Look at the... I don't know why that makes me laugh so much, but it does.
They did a good job, and for a good cause too.
Yeah, it's for a good cause, but it's just hilarious watching those guys try to. And some of the kids wanted to run, but they're like, "Don't run! You're going to turn an ankle before the game
dangerous.
Friday night."
I don't know how they do it.
I don't know. They're superheroes.
I don't know either.
Women are here, exactly.
Women are
That's
superheroes.
a great way to put it.
Your dogs are barking at the end of the night, though.
Never heard that. I'm glad I did, though. Thanks for being here with us. Have a good night.